Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about 5 essential things you need to know about your bow stroke. In order to get a really great full sound and be able to articulate it the way you want to. First thing, sounding point. What is the sounding point? The bow interacts with the string to create a vibration in the string that goes through the bridge, which goes into the top of the violin. It goes through the sound post when you look inside your violin, and that goes to the back. So the whole instrument vibrates. And if you put your bow in the correct spot, it makes a big difference in terms of the clarity and the strength of the sound coming out of the instrument. So just for example, here is not so good. And now sounding point. The common knowledge is that it's basically between the bridge and the fingerboard, right about there. Now, the intricacy of this is that there's different sounding points for different strings and also for different positions on the violin. That's a little bit subtle. For right now, what you want to concentrate on is that you're definitely drawing the bow in between the bridge and the fingerboard. Too close to the bridge, you get scratchy. Too close to the fingerboard, you actually dull the sound because you're actually stealing the vibration from the string. Now, some violinists will actually use that to actually play softer, and that's a fine use of it. But if you want the biggest sound, first point, sounding point. The second thing is the amount of weight or pressure that you're putting into the string. You can talk about it in terms of weight or pressure, either way. The idea is that you want a really good bow hold that we talked about in our last video. And so if you don't have that, I'll put a link either in the video or the description if I can figure it out. So here's your bow hold. You're transferring the weight of your arm into the string, and the amount of weight determines the amount of sound you're getting out. So the idea is that you don't want to push, definitely not this, right? You think of pushing down into the string. No. Let your arm drop, and then that weight gets transferred through your fingers into the string. Now, it might take a while for you to really get that, but that's the idea. You want to avoid pressing. Now, if you do think of in terms of pressure, you actually have a pivot point, your thumb and your first finger. That actually can create quite an amount of pressure into the string. So that's also active too. But you want to have that be active, but then also rely on the weight of your arm. And when you rely on the weight of your arm, muscles relax. And so you only use the essential muscles that you need. So, weight. Now, obviously, if you get too much weight, you get that luscious hippopotamus sound, I call it. And if you use too little weight, it starts slaying on the string and we get what we call a water spider sound. And so the idea is you want a deep sea tuna sound where you're really in the deep of the string, really into the water. So it's like nice and clear. The third thing is when you're drawing your bow, it has to be straight. Now, different violinists make things work. Sometimes you see violinists, especially when they're trying to end a phrase, something like that, they can turn the bow. But the string vibrates the most strongly when you have the bow drawing straight on the string, perpendicular. Like that. Now, We talked about runner's arm in the last video. So sometimes in order to counteract runner's arm, you need to think of, instead of going down and in towards your body, or up and out away from your body, which is classic runner's arm, this, right? Sometimes it's helpful to go like this. When you come up bow, you go up and think of coming into your body. So you actually angle it slightly in, right? And then as you come down, slightly away. So you end up like extending your arm, coming in a little bit, and extending a little bit. Mostly just to counteract runner's arm, this. With anything that you want to play, using a straight bow will give you the clarity you want, and then you can also vary that depending on what the subtlety is of the music. So that's straight bow. Now, when I begin teaching, we mostly stay within a certain realm of the bow. We stay within tape to tape. And so it's like a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, and a quarter. So we stay within the middle quarter. And that gives you the idea of just drawing the bow without moving your upper arm. So you can just, develop a strong bow stroke like that. When you actually come up, the elbow comes in, right? The upper arm comes in. And when you come all the way to the tip, the elbow comes in too. It's funny, right? But for now, just tape to tape. Excellent way to just develop that bow stroke. So those are 4 things. The 5th one that affects your sound is your speed of your bow. And so if you are drawing a regular bow stroke, it's kind of a normal pressure, and you increase the weight, everything else staying the same, you'll get the crunchy sound. So the string won't vibrate because it's being limited by the weight, right? The same thing if you have a normal bow stroke, just normal weight, and you get light, same speed, everything gets wispy, right? Now, speed affects that though, because if you go light and with low speed, you can get quite an appropriate sound for certain types of music that you want to sing. If you go heavy and the speed is low, so many students, when they first start, they default to light and fast. And it gets kind of wispy, right? So the idea is like, most students will need to increase their weight of their bow to start developing that kind of deep in the string sound. So to review, sounding point, in between the bridge and the fingerboard, weight or pressure, putting weight in, make sure your bow is straight as you draw it, and then keep the bow within, a quarter of the end of each end of the bow, right? And then make sure your speed is not too fast or too slow, otherwise you'll end up getting the extremes of what those speeds do on the string until you learn to control them. So, for a good bow stroke. All right, I will see you next video. Please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if this was helpful or if you have any kind of questions that you'd like to address that I can do in another video. Thanks.